We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest event of all time.
Good news for the sport.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and huge thank you to Horse Trailer Pros. Such a great company, has been such a huge supporter of this show for a long time now. It's like 4 years, Rick. 4 and a bit.
Yeah, we're in our 4th year, and this is our episode, whatever, in our 4th season, and
yeah,
we're going to get close to 100 episodes on December, the second week in December. 100th.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be awesome, and we couldn't do it without Horse Trailer Pros. So if you guys need any work done on any of your trailers, even a boat potentially, a boat trailer, any trailers, they will take care of you. They will make everything right. They're the best in the business. So if you're in the Florida Southeast area and need some work done, they are the people to check out. So big thanks to them, and obviously all of our sponsors, Rick. And then the other thing we need you guys to do is make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, check us out on your podcast players, whatever you're listening to us on right now. Go in and give us a review and make it a 5-star review. That helps us a lot. And then make sure you guys comment on the YouTube stuff and Facebook and all of that, because all of that stuff helps out the show tremendously. So Rick,
What a great segue when you said 5-star. Am I on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
we don't get the box back and forth now. So that's what I was looking for.
Right.
5-star, Burghley went on, and we had the AECs. So we had a lot going on this week. You were competing at chat, so you were kind of out of pocket to watch Burghley, but we watched it for you.
Thank you.
It was quite impressive, and we can start talking about that if you want.
Yeah, no, let's get into Burghley. That's the big one, obviously, and the Americans had just a great showing. And so did big shout out to Jesse Phoenix.
Jesse Phoenix from Canada on Wabbit. I mean, they really bounded around there, and it was Derek Diagrazi's, second year, right?
Yep.
And the course footing was great, by the way. I know it's been a struggle over in England and Europe for footing, but they came out with a beautiful weekend, great footing. It was an 11-minute and 6-second course cross country. This dressage was going on, which, I mean, we had Tim Price make history by scoring an 18.5 in the dressage, the lowest of ever at Burghley. But with that being said, they were really tough in the scoring. I think we had Ollie Townend with a couple 24s, and they weren't giving them away. So to even make that point, the person in second place, David Doyle, was the only one to end on his dressage score, and it was a 33.7. So there you go.
Impressive result by David there. For sure. Yeah, and I, like you said, I didn't get to watch all of it. I kept checking in and out. I was actually messaging Will Faudree after his dressage, and I said, "Great job." And he said, "We did this whole thing with Ride IQ, this equestrian mastermind," and he was on there with me. And I know now, as a lot of people have listened to it, he gets quite worked up before cross country. I mean, we all do, but he really does. And he said, "Yeah, this is great. Now I can go start getting sick for cross country." And I was like, oh gosh, there's no more exciting and terrible feeling than finishing your dressage at Burghley and getting ready for cross country. You're just like, oh, it just seemed like such a good idea 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, we had quite the contingency. As you said, Jesse from Canada was there. We had Will Faudree on Mama's Magic Way. We had Boyd, who's on our show that you get to listen to, had On Cue and Testerleg. And then we had Grace Taylor, who we had on our show, Ann Hardaway's daughter, who was a first-timer at Burghley. So Jenny Seville, who was Jenny Brannigan, known to a lot of us, was there on FEI Lifestyle. And Tiana Cadre was there. She's based in England. Who else am I missing? Was that all of it?
I think you got them all.
I think I did good.
If we missed somebody, we apologize.
Yep.
We're not really good at this.
The course was like, tough. I think I was listening at the beginning, and I think within the first 7 rides, 2 riders made time. And Janelle Price, lover, and Tim Price is obviously competing with his special 18.5 dressage score. She was getting a little frustrated when 2 made it in the top, like the first 7 went, because she obviously, and we obviously want cross country to be a factor. And if the factor is time, that's even a better thing, right? Because it shows that the course is demanding and you have to go out there and do it. And you have to have your fitness. And so she said to everybody, well, if 2 have already made it clear, there was like 58 left or 55 left to go. She goes, it's going to be a lot of people making time. And what happened, John?
That was it. Nobody else did it. Nobody else got it. And, you'd like to say it's because the ground started to deteriorate or something, but it sounds like the footing was beautiful. It's just, you never know at a 5-star, do you? Like, I can't imagine being a designer at a 5-star, because you're trying to produce a competitive result, have cross country be influential, but not push it over the top to the point where it's an unfair test. If you get it wrong and you make it too easy, you get massacred. If you get it wrong and you make it too hard, you get massacred. And if you get it right, it's because the riders were awesome. It's never you did a great job. So
right. Well, the course was interesting because obviously, or not, to those who haven't watched Burghley, there's some really jump combinations that have famous names. The Trout Hatchery, they have Dairy Mounds, they have the Leaf Pit. And everybody is always looking at those areas of how they're designed and how they go. And I think we talked to Boyd later in the show about the Dairy Mounds. And this year, the Dairy Mounds were made up of an open oxer, blue and white poles, down to a chevron, to another chevron. And that didn't ride easy. I don't know, the horses that didn't get in over the oxer coming down to those other 2, it was hairy. I mean, you're like going, oh, you'd sit back and go, oh. But what was the great thing about that, John, about even if it was hairy for the horses, the safety features that were there worked. They had safety pins on all 3 of those, all 3 of the jumps in the combinations. And it was a difficult combination. And look, they didn't just go down if somebody hit it hard. They went down if they were hit the right way.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to watch that. But I love watching Burghley, and it is always exciting all the way down to the last ride.
Yeah, it is such a great event. And it's an event where it shows you, if you do like David Dole and you put in a decent dressage test and you can go out there and make it happen on cross country and show jumping, you're right there. I mean, it ain't no dressage show, that's for sure.
Well, it sure is. And again, a shout out to the US riders in the top 20. I know Jenny Seville was awarded the best farrier work on her horse.
That's cool.
Lap style. And she was the highest placed rookie at Burghley. So that was good. Yeah, just a lot of good stuff. And Jessica Phoenix on Wabbit, I mean, she talk about sticking with a horse.
Yeah. She's an inspiration that way, because I'll be honest, and not to sound like a jerk, I've never been impressed with the horse. I never thought much of it. I always wondered why. I'll be honest, I always wondered, why does Jesse ride that one? It just doesn't look like it's going to be
a Burghley horse.
That horse. And that's the thing, right? You get those thoroughbreds, you believe in them, and credit to her. And no shade meant to be thrown at the horse, because obviously it's incredible, but it's hard to know sometimes, is this really going to be that horse? And obviously Jesse knew it. She knows her stuff. She knows what it takes. So well done, Jesse and Wabbit. Get it done.
So I heard you in some other segments. How many times have you been to Burghley?
1 time, and I was not a star.
Well, at least,
but I did finish it. And I will say it is, which Boyd is going to get into later, there ain't no let up nowhere on that course. No. It is the biggest, hairiest, scariest thing you've ever jumped around in your life, for sure. It lives, at least when I did it, it lived right up to the reputation. And
I know
Boyd's going to get into it too.
I agree with you. I know it's Simply Priceless. We all know that horse that Elisa has, and you had some experience with that horse. And I don't know why we did this. I was talking to Briggs about this the other day. We were like, For sure, that horse is going to go to Kentucky. For sure, that horse is going to go to Burghley. For sure, that horse is going to go to badminton. And Burghley was amazing for that horse. He finished 14th and the highest place USA rider in 2016. And it ain't easy there. So really proud to all the US riders and how well they did.
Absolutely. All the riders in general, but it is always fun to cheer on our North American riders here. We're going to lump Jessie in with that because she was a star and she's one of us. So well done, everybody. Rick.
Yeah, well done.
Maybe we should take a break because we have a show packed full of good stuff here. We got Boyd, who's just returned home from Burghley. He's going to visit with us from actually ringside at his home base in Pennsylvania. And then we're going to cruise out to California and check in with Robert Kellerhouse, who's getting ready for the Galway International out there. So let's check in.
Before we leave, we probably need to do this because it was the American Eventing Championships.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
And we should give a shout out to Liz Halliday Sharp and Mixed Master C for being the AEC national champion in the advanced division. Well done.
Yes. And absolutely, Liz was amazing. And she is such a stone cold competitor. So good to her. And while we're talking about it, because he's a friend of ours and a good friend of mine, well done to Jay Hambley because those tracks looked awesome. All the videos I saw of everybody jumping around out there, it looked to be a beautiful, challenging, well-designed course. And as I said earlier, the designers never get the credit they deserve, even Jay. So well done, Jay, and to US Eventing Association in general for putting on another awesome AECs. So yeah, amazing. Thank you for stopping me before I close this out without talking about them. Rob Burke would have been really upset with me if we didn't mention it. So good save, Rick.
Good job, Rick.
Yes, well done, Rick. Cool. All right, listen, guys, we're going to check in with our sponsors. And here's the thing, guys, support our sponsors because they support the show. They make this all happen for us. We have them on the show, not just because we're desperate and want them, which we are and we do, but also because they are great companies that have great products. We believe in every single one of them. So please support them. Check them out here coming up next as we come back with the Equibrew segment with Boyd.
Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622
or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Hey, it's John here. I just want to let you guys know I got back from schooling at Magnolia Sands Farm here in Ocala, Florida. Your cross-country field is perfectly suited for a first outing on a young horse or schooling your upper-level horse. Magnolia Sands offers over 110 jumps ranging from starter to intermediate, plus multiple banks, ditches, and waters. They're constantly updating their courses and have even added new ditches and a starter ditch wall. Conveniently located in Northeast Ocala, Magnolia Sands has made it easy for riders and trainers with online waivers, Venmo, and PayPal, and even offer a golf cart for guests. MagnoliaSandsFarm.com.
Equibrew, now available in the USA. It's a live probiotic that you feed daily to your horses. The live microbes go into your horse's gut and cleans up the gut wall, creating a healthy gut system.
Equibrew is an essential part of my feeding program. My horses love to eat it, and it does a really good job of promoting gut health and also good behavior and great performances.
It's something I recommend for all of your horses, no matter what they do in their careers.
It's so affordable, I can use it on all of my horses in the barn, not just my top horses.
Order Equibrew today by going to brickfieldnutrition.com or calling 850-879-2649.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. This is our Equibrew segment, and everybody out there, Equibrew is a live probiotic that is great for your horses. You should get them on it. We are really excited to have Boyd Martin with us, fresh back from Burghley. You look great, Boyd. The travel, I know you're back and forth, and so here you're back, and you had 2 in the top 10. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. It was once again an epic event in England. It's the 3rd time I've been to Burghley, and I forgot how enormous the course was. So I was very, very pleased with both my horses. So I had Sesterleg and On Cue, who are both champion 5-star horses. So yeah, had a good run there. So that's good.
It was good to go. So we were able to follow you the whole time, and a lot of people don't realize, to your point, when you get to Burghley, it's like, wow, no wonder they claim this to be one of the hardest 5-stars in the world. And the atmosphere is amazing with the Burghley House and everything there. So walk us through. I know I saw you at Great Meadows, and you were nice enough to come over and talk to me about the John and Rick show, and then here you are making a good appearance at Burghley, and we have you back on. Take us through your travels. I think you left early from Great Meadows. How was it getting over to Burghley and getting those horses back under your ride?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting scenario you're in. Like I rode at Le Moulin earlier this year, and it's the same sort of thing where the week before your major 5-star, there's not much riding. The horses leave the farm here in Pennsylvania, I think, on Wednesday, and by the time the horses flew from JFK to Liège in Belgium, and then hopped on a truck, and then travelled all the way to England, and then they stayed at a good friend of mine, Kevin McNabb's place, and then I think they sort of arrived there late Saturday night. So it's sort of not that much time to get them going. My groom Steph just gave him a nice hack on Sunday, and then I flew over and arrived in England on Monday morning, and had a jump school, jumped them both, and gave them a slow gallop up a hill there, and then we shipped them over to Burghley, and got there Tuesday, and then trot up was Wednesday, and the contest started on Thursday. So there's so it seems like a mission to get there, but it happens pretty quickly. So.
Yeah, John, you got a question for him?
Yeah, so Boyd, I just think it's always interesting. Everybody has kind of their own final preps and the way they want to get their horses ready. So you said you did that final jump school on Monday, and I know sometimes that's a little bit like, oh God, I just need to jump them and not screw this up as my last jump. So how do you approach that final jump school? What do you do?
Well, for me, it's usually a very short, sweet session. I was lucky. My jumping coach Peter Wild actually came over and was in England, so he was there on Monday, and it's compared to our normal jump sessions at home, it was a shorter, sweeter session. Basically, we did our normal sort of routine of just popping them over vertical and building it up to quite a tall vertical, then same with an oxer, and then we basically had a mini course with a combination set through the middle of the course. So it was a couple single fences, and then down a line of a treble line, which sort of Thomas and Q, that would be their hardest point. But it's sometimes less is more, and getting ready for these big competitions is you don't want to use them too hard the week before. So the jumping and the galloping early in the week of the competition is very abbreviated and short and sweet, and really you've done the work. You can't get them any fitter. You're probably not going to get them jumping much better. It'd be just more of a making sure that they sort of stretch out their backs and have a bit of a huff and a puff, and blow their lungs out a little bit on a short gallop. And I've had these horses for so long. It's really just making sure that they're confident and that they're sharp and they're ready to rock. So
right, and then like you said, sort of the competition starts on Thursday, and obviously you had two pretty good tests on I think it was a 28 on Sesterleg and a 31, I believe, 31 something on the mare. So that ring is obviously super electric. The stands are pretty close. How do you feel the horses kind of dealt with that? Obviously, they're both pretty experienced, but there's nothing quite like trotting into or cantering down center line at Burghley in that atmosphere. How did they cope?
That's good. I mean, Q was first. I mean, to just to review the 7 days before the dressage test, they got dressage training probably two maybe 3 sessions, which is not a lot. If you're thinking about, you're basically the first ride, you're just trying to get them around and lengthening and shortening, and then the second time you're working on a few of the movements of the flying changes and the half pass, and then the next ride you're basically going down the center line. I thought Q did really well. I was a bit disappointed that she didn't score that well. By saying that, when I looked back at the test, she did one late flying change, so she, we did have some mistakes. But going early on Thursday morning is, I feel like if that dressage test was in Thursday afternoon or Friday, she would have got into the 20. Her trot work was spectacular. Had a few little messy moments of the halt, the rein back, and one shonky change, but she she hadn't been at that level since 2021, so it's sort of it's a bit of a hard thing to practice the 5-star test, because you only perform it a couple times a year, and with each horse, and so she was good. And Thomas, in his final run, which was Bromont, he was a pretty sharp and nervous and a bit naughty at Bromont. Had quite a disappointing test. So I was sort of glad that happened. And I worked Thomas a little bit harder, really make sure that he wasn't too electric, because by the time I went on Friday in the big arena, like you said, there was it's a lot of pressure, and the horses usually get a little bit tight. But he did a good test. He was sort of back to as good as I've had him going. And I think he was 5th or 6th after the dressage, which is pretty good form. There's 60 horses in it, and very, very best of the world. And, it's very hard to get a perfect test on the day, like under that sort of atmosphere and the difficulty of each movement. So it could have gone a little bit better, but it was right in there with some of the best horses.
Yeah, definitely put you right there in striking distance for sure. So I want to get more into it in the next segment for sure, but we have a couple minutes. So I thought, if you're okay with it, Rick, I thought one thing I would like to know is, obviously Derek's designing there now, and he designs Kentucky as well, and Bromont. You ride around a lot of Derek's courses. So does it still feel like Big Bad Burghley? Has it changed at all since Derek took it over from Mark, do you think? Like, how does it compare to some of his other tracks that he designs around the world?
Yeah, I mean, I've ridden it twice under Captain Mark Phillips, on Steady Eddie and Neville. And I felt like back then it was just bigger. By saying that, I found this course of Derek, geez, it rode hard. Like on 2 champion cross-country horses that have won 5 stars and gone to the Olympic Games. Like I was on the most seasoned cross-country horses, and God, I was digging deep from about the 3rd minute to the 11th minute. I don't know whether they just hadn't been at that level for a while, but it was just big jumps. It was funny. I wouldn't say I didn't know there was a different course designer there. It didn't have a whole new different look, if you know what I mean. So it didn't. I thought it might sort of resemble Kentucky a lot, but it didn't. It still had its sort of trademark signature jumps of the Discovery Valley and the Leaf Pit and Centaur's Leap and all these epic Burghley jumps, which Derek's continued to use. And it was just a relentless course, where it was not one particular jump that was, oh my God, this is impossible, but it was just hard jump after hard jump after hard jump. And I don't know, the horses seem to get very, very tired there just because it's so long of an uphill. The first 3 quarters of the course feels like it's going uphill. And my 2 horses, they handled it well, and it was I don't know, like I feel like I haven't had to push that hard to go clear around the cross country for some time, and maybe I'm getting old and a bit precious or something, but like I just felt like both my horses and myself were right at the limit for a long time, where usually usually around the 5 stars, like Lamullen, thinking back on it with Thomas and Luke and Bruno, it was I didn't feel like we were sort of pushing as hard the whole way around. So I do think it's the hardest cross country course in the world, the biggest and the most epic one. So I'm glad Derek's continued that high standard of prestige and excellence that Burghley's been known for, where they, a lot of horse sports, they're dumbing down and softening and making safer. I think Burghley's still definitely Burghley.
That's good, right? It is. Burghley and badminton seem to kind of be in a league of their own that way a bit, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting. I think these 5 stars, they just take a very, very special, unique horse and obviously a very, very special rider too, and it can still go wrong. So it's I do think it's the pinnacle of the sport. It's definitely not different to the Olympics. So it's quite weird where it's almost a different sport to a WEG or an Olympic Games.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Rick, let's take a break. And then I think actually that's a great thing maybe we can touch on in the next segment as well, is that it does almost seem to be two tiers. But one thing we need to do, Rick, and you can close us out here, is thanks Equibrew.
Yeah, thank you, Equibrew. Great live probiotic. It really generates a great gut health for your horses and cuts down on the metrazole that you have to use. So I'd suggest it for everybody out there. It's right here on the bottom of the screen. Boyd, we're going to come back in another session with you and talk about specifically the cross country course and some of the things that were going on.
Equibrew, now available in the USA. It's a live probiotic that you feed daily to your horses. The live microbes go into your horse's gut and cleans up the gut wall, creating a healthy gut system.
Equibrew is an essential part of my feeding program. My horses love to eat it, and it does a really good job of promoting gut health and also good behavior and great performances.
It's something I recommend for all of your horses, no matter what they do in their careers.
It's so affordable, I can use it on all of my horses in the barn, not just my top horses.
Order Equibrew today by going to brickfieldnutrition.com or calling 850-879-2649.
Grant Showalter has over 15 years of equine bodywork and saddle fitting experience. His technique allows him to identify and alleviate tightness in muscles. He uses trigger point massage to release points of restriction. Grant has over a decade of experience fitting and adjusting a wide variety of saddles. His expertise in equine physiology, coupled with a thorough understanding of the importance of a properly fitted saddle, allows him to quickly identify and correct any balance issues. Grant can also adjust your saddle on site. Grant works on all of my competition horses, and I have noticed a significant improvement in their performance at competitions and their overall way of going. Grant's based in Ocala, Florida year-round, but regularly travels to the surrounding areas. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call 484-639-4454.
Hi, my name's Leslie Law, and we are a proud supporter of Jump for Joy. We've been using their portable cross-country jumps now for about 10 to 15 years. We love these jumps because, as you can see, they're very easy to move. It would only take another person on the other side, and I could place this fence wherever I wanted to very easily.
Welcome back to the John Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and big thanks to Horse Trailer Pros. They are such a great supporter of the show and of the sport, and a great place. I just picked up my horse trailer from there. Awesome work. Boyd, if you're ever down in Ocala and you need some work done on a trailer, Matt over at Horse Trailer Pros is your man. So Boyd, you finished up the last segment and sort of touched on something that I think is honestly a pretty big topic in the sport and in the FEI, which is we almost now do have this 2-track system. And it seemed for a while like the 2 tracks were going to be shorts and longs, but now it almost seems to be morphing into the 2 tracks are 5-star horses and everybody else. And, like you said, the championships really seem to be more at the 4-star level. So how do you reconcile that? Do you choose horses to think they're going to be this 5-star horse or this team horse, or are they the same horses to you? What's your thought on all of that?
It's an interesting topic, because, the horses that we're selecting as 3 and 4-year-olds, you've got to it's a long process. You've got to think, okay, in 6 years' time, does this horse have the attributes, and does it meet the criteria of what we want? Which is we want a horse that can, I feel like they have to have unbelievable dressage ability. It's impossible to win a big 5-star or a championship if you're on a 38 dressage. So we need animals that can do these top dressage. And to me, these big 5-stars, especially Kentucky and Babington and Burghley, you just need a horse that's got blood. It needs to have gallop, stamina, courage. It needs endurance, and it also needs a rider that's got a really clear understanding on how to get a horse truly fit. Now that horse still could win the Olympics, if it's a really good show jumper and a really good dressage, that animal could still win the WEG or the Olympics. But nowadays with the WEG or Olympics, you could also have a horse that only needs to go for 8 minutes instead of 11 and a half minutes. So it opens up the door for a bigger, heavier, slower, shinier, fancier horse. So, when we're selecting horses before, unless they were 3/4 blood, I just wouldn't touch them, just because ultimately deep down I'd question if they'd have the speed and the distance for the 5-stars. But now some of them I would actually hold on to, that with the idea of these short format competitions like the arena eventing at Devon or the Bruce's Field Grand Prix or the Tokyo Olympics, you can maybe get away with a horse that's got a little bit less blood in it, doesn't gallop quite as well, but still well trained in the cross country and a good mover for the dressage and a sharp, careful show jumper. So, I hope that the sport doesn't keep going down that track so much where we're just buying basically show jumpers that are good movers. I do think part of the brilliance of our sport is the understanding of getting your horse really fit, or riding your horse cross country and conserving some energy, knowing that you've got to go for 4 miles and not sprinting it to its maximum and riding it like it's a jump off every time. So, I think that these big 5-stars are so epic and the prize money's so good that those big ones are here to stay. But then they're just such a specific horse that can compete there. Like, I wouldn't just take any horse that I've qualified for 5-star to Kentucky or Burghley.
Right.
Good point,
Rick.
Yeah. So, and Boyd, and we've been talking about this topic for a while as we watch it transition. And to your point of having 2 different type horses, and also having one that might be qualified for the 5 long, that might be qualified, but it probably couldn't get around at Burghley or Kentucky. So based on that, though, when we're looking at Burghley this year and you went around, and when was the last time you were there? Was it on Steady Eddie?
Steady Eddie, yeah. I think it was 2017.
Yeah.
I think.
So what of the trout hatchery and dairy mounds, which was interesting with those blue and white poles, that didn't ride quite well for a lot of people getting there. Where was the hardest thing that you think you tackled going through there, where you really thought, I need to pay even more attention here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing with those courses, if you're pushing hard to be competitive with the time, that you're jumping all these big, complicated, fierce, enormous jumps on a tired horse. That's something that's very hard for the general public to understand. It's one thing actually being able to train your horse to go over a mound to a corner to a bounce, but then you're at flat pace and a horse that's tired. So it's to me that's what makes the competition hard, just because it's not like a short format horse trial at Tryon where you've got a fresh animal the whole time. So to me, the hardest part was sort of, I think they call it the dairy mound, where you had a frangible pin oxer, a really long 3 or a short 4 to a skinny, down a hill to another skinny in 5 or 6 strides. And To me, I went on the less stride. That was a very short 4 to a 6, or a long direct 3 to another long direct 5. And I felt like at that level that it just seems like it's a little bit, it's designed for you to gallop at it and try and take the less strides. And luckily for me, both my horses read it well, and I had a good shot at the first oxer, and I was committed well and on a good line. And I mean, it was still a pretty hairy jump, but they both jumped it well. And then just to basically, you got 3 or 4 minutes to get them home after that. And I mean, the let-up fences are just ginormous. So it's sort of, even though that was the really hard combination, you still had a lot of big jumps to go. So.
Well, and let's talk about that. I know something happened to you with Thomas on course. I think you got held after the Dairy Mounds. Is that right? And what was going on there?
Oh, it was a disaster. Well, not a disaster. I mean, Thomas, I felt like I was riding way faster on Thomas than Q. Like Q was struggling a bit, and Thomas was going great. And I got through all the hard stuff, and I was just balls to the wall to get them home. And you sort of come down the hill to the last 2 minutes of the course, and they waved me down with a red flag. And initially, I thought that someone had fallen in front of me, but then they said, "Oh, a jump judge," and thought they saw blood in the horse's mouth and radioed to the control, and so they stopped me. And you know, it wasn't. I mean, I get why they stop you, just because I feel like the welfare of the horse is very, very important, especially now. Like I feel like there's a huge push to make sure that we're not seen to be abusing the horses or whatnot. But it's at the same time, God, I was like 3 or 4 fences from home, and where they stopped me, and then on top of that, they couldn't see any blood in the horse's mouth. So you got TDs and vets pulling its mouth open. The poor horse was just huffing and puffing, and then they said, "All right, off you go again." And then the jump that was my first jump was the Coltrane, which I don't know how. Oh fuck! I mean, I was, galloped down. Poor old Thomas thought he'd finished, and flying down to this big jump from out after standing still for 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But a good old Thomas, he's a legend. He jumped it well, and then we finished the course well. And I mean, some people go, "Oh, unless you got a breather," and I feel like I would have been much better just to keep going. I was on a good pace, and to stop and start, and then I still can't figure out the timing issue, but it is what it is. They have the best sort of officials there on the course, and they said that I had 9 time penalties, but it was it didn't make sense to me, just because I was so much faster there where I got pulled up than I was on cue. So
right.
Anyway, it is what it is, and to be honest, like I sort of get why if there is an issue of the welfare of the horse, I do think that we're in a place in our sport where that's got to be a top priority. But unfortunately for me, there was no evidence of any blood, and it really was a bit of a mess from a competitor's point of view, where you sort of don't know quite what's going, and you feel like you're on the right pace to get home, and then to stop and start. It's a bit of a bugger, but it all worked out.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I was watching intently and I saw your face when you got pulled up, and then when you did go, it took them a while to kind of sort out any of the time stuff that they were doing with you. So I was wondering if there was a little thing in your mind going, I don't think it was quite that much, but there's not much you can do at that point, right? But great runs by both horses, and you moved into show jump the next day. What was your thoughts there?
Let's do this. Boyd, can you stick around? Before you do that, can you stick around for one more segment, or do you need to go? Sweet. Let's take a break. Let's take a break, and we'll just come right back, and that way we have some time to get into show jump. Are you okay with that, Rick?
Yeah,
I'm perfect with it. I kind of made the segment go long. Sorry.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's just take a break. We'll check in with some sponsors so we can pay some bills here, and we'll be right back with Boyd.
Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them.
Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com.
Since 1950, Maison Forestier has been offering its know-how to design custom-made saddles for passionate riders. In 2016, Maison Forestier took a turn and expanded into the sports world with the goal of improving the performance of the rider-horse pair. You will find a professional, reactive, and fun team to answer your needs. And this is why I have chosen Forestier for all of my saddlery needs. Feel free to contact the saddle expert in your area for more information by visiting www.forestier.com. Hey, it's John here. I just want to let you guys know I got back from schooling at Magnolia Sands Farm here in Ocala, Florida. Their cross-country field is perfectly suited for a first outing on a young horse or schooling your upper-level horse. Magnolia Sands offers over 110 jumps ranging from starter to intermediate, plus multiple banks, ditches, and waters. They're constantly updating their courses and have even added new ditches and a starter ditch wall. Conveniently located in Northeast Ocala, Magnolia Sands has made it easy for riders and trainers with online waivers, Venmo, and PayPal, and even offer a golf cart for guests. MagnoliaSandsFarm.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. Thanks, Boyd, for hanging on for another segment. I think it's real important for us to go through the show jump at Burghley with your two and how that all went with Peter Wild there to help you. Tell us how that went for you.
It was good. I mean, I was surprised how, both Thomas and Q finished the cross country very tired, and but they both are older horses, and they both recovered very well. They trotted up perfectly on Saturday afternoon and then again on Sunday morning. And, there's no secret, both that the show jumping's always been a challenge for Q and Thomas. And I thought Q just, she sort of jumped how she did at Maryland a couple of years ago, where she sort of went in the ring and she gets a little bit starstruck and actually gets a little bit low in her jump, and she sort of tickled her way around the course, and she had 2 down, which I got very lucky the year we won Maryland 5-star. She jumped about the equivalent, and I was pleased with her for not doing a 5-star for 2 years, and to go back to the world's toughest 5-star to finish in 10th place was a good result for her. And the great thing for me is I feel like there's probably 1 or 2 more 5-stars left in her. Just the way that she got through the event unscathed and felt strong and healthy and happy. And then Thomas, the show jumping's been always tough, and Peter Wild's just helped me relentlessly, and we got him jumping so well. It was we gave him a little jump school in the morning after the trot up, and he was flying. He warmed up as good as he could have, and I couldn't believe it. I jumped fence 1 and he jumped it like this high, and then I made the turn to fence 2, and then he's cross cantering, and I tried to do a flying change, and then he stumbled the trot, and then it's this massive 4'3" vertical, and we're just on a terrible half distance, and he just crashed through it. And then 5 strides later, there's big spooky oxer, and we crashed through that, and I'm like gathering him up, and sort of got back to my saddle, and then finished the round pretty well. So it was a shame, actually, because I feel like he's show jumped better than he's ever show jumped before, and unfortunately, on paper it just looks like the same result. So anyway, 9th and 10th, pretty good. I mean, to be honest, I was hoping to have a better placing or a higher finish, but I felt like I got the best out of the horses. Both of them, it was hard going for them in the cross country, and before I was riding thoroughbreds and I made the time, but this year it was a little bit harder, and it was definitely, even the top horses, there was only a couple that made the time. So it was, it was a very, very hard competition, and very grateful for the Turner family who've owned Thomas and Q for their career, and very, very grateful that they've sponsored me through good times and bad times, highs and lows, ups and downs, and to have a Burghley finish on both their passports, there's a huge credit to both horses' career.
Yeah, for sure. And a huge credit to your career as well, getting both those horses around Burghley. I mean, I knew a guy who went there. It took him 7 attempts to finish. So getting 2 the same weekend is a pretty good shot. And I can only imagine you finish that first horse go around on, it was Q, right? She was the first one.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh man, that's like one of the hardest things I've ever done. Let's saddle up and do it again.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I'm lucky. I've been at this level of the the sport since I've been a teenager. So I feel like I'm I don't know. I know what I'm in for when I'm going there. I know what I'm signing up for. I'm still nervous as hell and terrified, and it's a massive challenge still. But it's I feel like I'm comfortable at that level. The sport of it's the 5 stars is sort of what I live for. It's to me that's sort of what gets me going every day. It's what I wake up early for. It's what I train for. When I'm going to the preparation competitions, that's what I'm thinking about. Trying to make sure that the way I compete them at the horse trials is building them up towards these big goals. And very grateful and lucky to be in a position here where we've got good group of 5-star horses, and this year we'll do Kentucky, Lemullin, Burghley, Maryland, and Poe, which is it's we've got a good depth of 5-star horses. So it's but it's I need to get back and try and to a point where we can win them again. So felt like this weekend was a little bit of a letdown just for me, just because we were just slightly off the pace in the competition to the leaders.
Well, I think it was still a pretty good showing, man.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just going to say definitely, and shout out to all the U.S. riders that were there. I know, unfortunately,
And the
Grace Taylor-
Canucks. Jess Phoenix did well too, didn't she? And Jenny did good. Fordry was a champion, and Grace Taylor, yeah, she's a good girl. I was stable next to her, and she, fortunately, her horse got an infection after the cross country. So I think it's all right. It just it got a puncture and got an infection, so they had to.
Oh, that's too bad. And
race it off.
Hardaway,
So.
yeah, Anne Hardaway is a big. Of course, we love Anne and all her history with the U.S. And to see her daughter march around Burghley for the first time cross country was very impressive. So it was
cool.
fun watching. It's too bad she didn't get to finish.
And Tiana Kudray was there too. She was,
Correct.
I think she had a fall or something cross country, but
Yeah,
she's got herself a nice horse as well.
Large
That was a good showing. It was a good showing for a lot of the Americans. So, Boyd, you're home. Where are the horses, and when do they get to come back and be turfed out in their field and get a little break?
Yeah, I'll give them a month off. They're flying back today. So Steph, my groom, that's been an incredible leader of our team, is flying back with them, and then they'll have to do 2 or 3 days quarantine in New York, and then give them a month in the field here and just let them regroup. And then I feel like I'll keep them in just gentle work for the rest of the year. I feel like with the older horses is that they've just got to be kept moving, and they don't need that much training or jumping or whatever, but they'll be active for the rest of the year. And then hopefully we'll look at a spring 5-star with them if they're feeling as good as I think they will. So
Awesome. Well, Boyd, it looks like you got a ring full of people behind you. I'm sure you're out there teaching and riding and, not enjoying the post-Burghley vacation. You look like you've been working all day. So I appreciate you. We appreciate you coming on and being willing to stick around for us. You're a champ. Thanks so much for that. And good luck at the next one, man. I'm sure we'll see you out there.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And enjoy watching the show.
Thanks, Boyd.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Since 1950, Maison Forestier has been offering its know-how to design custom-made saddles for passionate riders. In 2016, Maison Forestier took a turn and expanded into the sports world with the goal of improving the performance of the rider-horse pair. You will find a professional, reactive, and fun team to answer your needs. And this is why I have chosen Forestier for all of my saddlery needs. Feel free to contact the saddle expert in your area for more information by visiting www.forestier.com. Grant Showalter has over 15 years of equine bodywork and saddle fitting experience. His technique allows him to identify and alleviate tightness in muscles. He uses trigger point massage to release points of restriction. Grant has over a decade of experience fitting and adjusting a wide variety of saddles. His expertise in equine physiology, coupled with a thorough understanding of the importance of a properly fitted saddle, allows him to quickly identify and correct any balance issues. Grant can also adjust your saddle on site. Grant works on all of my competition horses, and I have noticed a significant improvement in their performance at competitions and their overall way of going. Grant's based in Ocala, Florida year-round, but regularly travels to the surrounding areas. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call 484-639-4454.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and we're now going to transition. We're going out to the best coast on the West Coast with Mr. Robert Kellerhouse, who is, among a lot of things, also, Robert, the organizer of the Galway Downs Horse Trials. So we wanted to have you on because obviously it's getting to be that time. We're getting ready for Galway and all of the stuff to start happening in California.
Yeah, we're so excited about the fact that we've actually been given several national championships this year, including the Young Riders Championship. It's never taken place out in the West Coast, so we're thrilled to have that. I was working with Katie Robinson earlier this year and talking about which of these championships we should apply for. And in years past, we haven't really made any application attempts because the venue is on the upswing. We went through kind of a lull. And the last 5 years, we've invested quite a bit. The showgrounds have become something to be proud of. And my friend Ali has been a huge influence in that with his passion for the sport that he loves, show jumping. And of course, who doesn't like good footing in arenas, nice stables, nice RV, nice places to stay on campus, and all these things have been a byproduct of Ken Smith, the owner of the property's efforts, my efforts, and Ali's. So we made the application, and like the day after Tammy wins the Kentucky 3-day event, we get the notice that we've got all the championships we applied for, which was unbelievable. So to suffice it to say, that was a great way to start the year. Tammy's win, national championships coming out our ears. And earlier in the year, the area had given us the area championships. And with Andrea Pfeiffer's leadership and the council, they've decided to make it a regional thing by making the championships qualifying in any area, which was, again, really cool opportunity. Area 7, 10, 9, anyone around California can come and try and give it a go. And then the USEA leadership was kind enough to change their old rule that said you can't compete in more than one area championships. So we're not taking away from our other neighbors. So with all that in front of us, we then have this gigantic thing looming in 5 years' time called the LA Olympics. And that's been a huge focus of mine and our property is just to try and, take advantage of the fact that this is going to be the center of all equestrian sports in 2028. And our venue could play host to the fact that people can come in and ride and get a sense for what California is all about, the climate, the atmosphere, because no matter what in 2028, these games are going to take place here. And so we had a new sense of purpose and a new inspiration to go make sure our prize money, our prizes matched what the championships are doing. And so we've been raising money like crazy all year long. And thank God we've gotten great support. And we've just been able to announce that we're going to run $100,000 prize money for the November show. It's even hard.
Amazing.
It's hard for me to say that because the fact is these riders have been putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the line with whatever level whatever level they're going, international or otherwise. And it's nice to be able to reward them with the appropriate purse, and at the same time host it in a fun atmosphere, win, lose, or draw.
Well, and I think that's you're absolutely right. Like having the prize money there is huge. And I do think I've only been out there one time, but I remember when I made that trip out to your event, one, obviously it was an awesome event. Like you just put on such a great competition and the venue itself is really cool, but it's also super unique, right? Like when I drove into Galway the first time, I remember thinking to myself, this is about as close as you could get to traveling out of the country for an East Coaster, traveling out of the country to go to a competition, a big event, gives you that sort of feel. And I do think it's something that particularly our younger sort of 20-some-year-old competitors who have international aspirations, they really should take advantage of it, right? Like, to come out to Galway, you feel like you've gone, again, for an East Coast person, you feel like you've gone to a completely different world. Like, it is a different climate than what we're used to on the East Coast. It is puts you out of your comfort zone, but in a good way. And it forces you to be on your game and ready to compete. And now knowing you've got that, plus the LA Olympics coming up, plus this huge prize money that you're putting out there to help, honestly, to help all of us competitors and our owners offset all of these great expenses. It just seems like it's a recipe for huge success for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Obviously, John, we're the stuff that's gone into the cross country, the way the track runs at the other people I've heard refer to as a quote championship track, right? It's not going to be Burghley, it's not going to be Blenheim, or it's not galloping across the English countryside. It's galloping in California. We've got all this nuance with the sandy, loamy footing that we have that we hope to continue to improve on. But at the end of the day, it is a different sport, different competition. It's like a little bit like our riders when they go back and hit up Bromont, French road signs and the like. You definitely feel like you're in a different part of the world. And uniquely, our West Coast riders are used to making these trips, where we're finding with the young riders from area 2 and 3 and the areas that are contemplating coming out, they're not used to having a serious travel budget in order to get their athletes to compete. And then be able to open up that conversation with them and to have that be something that's on their radar from year to year, as opposed to not, and get that mileage going somewhere strange, having a tack trunk full of stuff, and that's all you got. You can't go back to your barn. You're not sleeping in your own bed. It's very, very good experience. And at the same time, by offering the prize money and everything, to your point, we get a chance to reward those with a significant purse that have success. And the young riders uniquely are going to be competing in the open classes and still placed separately within their own subset of the division. So they're not out of the running. One of the young riders kicks everyone's butt in the 3-star. Guess what? They're going to be going for the purse, which I really am fortunate that the USEF was aligned with that thinking to give these kids a chance. Because, if you got a winning horse, you got a winning horse. And so they'll be acknowledged in their own subset with their own kids and their own athletes, younger riders, if you will, at the same time, still going for the overall win. All these things mean something. And at the same time, whether it's our athletes out here that gain experience by competing back east, or the guys on the east that could certainly gain experience by coming out west, we hope to give it a shot. And that's the biggest point.
Yeah, and that's great, Robert. I think that's a great idea in a way to promote the West Coast and the sport that you have out there. Tell us, I should know this, who's your course designer?
Clayton, your neighbor.
All right, good old Clayton Fredericks. Super. And then run through, everybody listening, what divisions are we going to have at Galway?
4, 3, 2, and 1. We added the 1-star in because of young riders. They asked us to do that. And then we have the area the regional championships going from prelim down to beginner novice. And we run the CCI on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they're done Saturday. Their main day is Friday, Saturday, of course, and the finishing up in the Grand Prix ring, so that our national can finish up on Sunday in the Grand Prix and have their own moment in the sun in front of our VIP, in front of our grandstand, in front of our big open bar area that we have. It's a fun environment. We'll have Kim Miller interviewing all the winners and the top placing riders. We'll have ride on video capturing all the thing in a live stream. Ed Holloway and Frankie Terriot, commentating during the live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait to tune in.
Wait, and one quick question. What weekend is that? What week is that?
November 1st through 5th. Good question.
There we go. Put it on the calendar, everybody.
It's such a fun event. I remember real quick, I'm going to just tell a couple really funny stories about my adventure out there, Rick. Cross country day comes. I don't know that I've told this one on the show before. Robert, you might remember this. I was first horse out in the 3-star on a notoriously difficult horse to get to the start box. And I'm trying to get down through the laneway across the racetrack that year. And my horse spooked at a poor volunteer who was just trying to do his job, reared up. He stayed on his feet, but I fell off trying just to get to the start box. And I look up and I'm thinking, to the point of having to deal with stuff, I'm thinking, I came a long way and spent a lot of money to be sitting on my butt right now. And I look up and I've got David O'Connor and Leslie Law sitting there trying to throw me back up on my horse. I've got no air vest now because it blew. I got Tammy Tammy Smith running up to me with her air vest to get me on. And I go down, I get back on this horse, medical check me and all of that because you guys are so on top of everything. I shoot out of the box like a cannon because I'm like, this thing is just wild. I gotta go. And I'm galloping across, and I come back across the racetrack again as fast as I can. And because everything out there, it is this sandy loam footing, and there's not a lot of turf on it, I'm flying as fast as I can go. And all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, oh my God, I went for the wrong spot. That's not my gap. And there's this cavern trench in front of me about 150 yards away. I had to pull up my poor horse, turn him left, shoot back across. And I'm like, I need to get myself put together and learn how to compete out on the West Coast. This is a different world. Honestly, it was wild. The course was amazing. The horse was so much better for having jumped around it. But to the point of learning how to compete different places, it was something I had to kind of learn how to do. And it is stuff that you do experience. Like you go over to Europe and you go to Buccolo, and all of a sudden you're like, I've came all this way. And then you're running across at Buccolo, a plowed farm field. And you're thinking, what? This is just having to go to these different venues again for these young riders, young competitors, or older competitors who haven't done it. It's so valuable to learn how to put your competitor hat on and be thinking clearly and ready to go. And I just think the opportunity that you give all of us, Robert, is just huge, because I see some years when you don't get the support from the East Coast. I know the effort you put in to run it for, less competitors than what you get if you were out on the East Coast. And the fact that you keep putting it together and it's growing and it's becoming something amazing and big and huge is really a credit to you. So well done.
Honestly, man, your experience is an example, right? We've taken all those into account, and we learn as we run an event from year to year. So we've actually taken a lot of the changes of ground and terrain into consideration. And now the tracks are all extremely similar, and we're developing, again, a more constant pace. When you show up to go walk the course on the Tuesday, your ground is going to appear the way it is on Friday morning when you go out of the box. A lot of things that we've gotten better at. And early preparation is a big deal, because you're talking about going to where, you're in a strange place. Maybe it's the first time you've been there, and we want the competitors to know what we're presenting so that they're well aware of what we have in front of us. And those tracks that Ian was doing back in 2012, 13, 14 were a hell of a lot of fun, but it did provide other technical issues, because we'd go into these strange places and the ground would change and be variations and stuff that, again, Clay's removed that element of it, because he also competed here himself as a rider, and we used to go inside the track. We don't do that anymore. We stay outside the track. We use the hills and the slopes as much as possible, but most importantly, we're always evolving ourselves as events. I've never been to an event that's ever said they were perfect, and when they come back the next year, they try to get better. It's the same thing when we do with our horses. And honestly, this spring, when the whole group stayed out west, I was grateful for it, because we had, they parlayed that CCI short into a lot of success back at the Longs back in Kentucky and Tryon and Aachen. And again, we had Misty Miller actually did what I call the reverse, broke a trend. She came from the east, stayed out west, trained, competed, then went back to Kentucky for an effort at the 4-star short, and had success. Believe me, man, all that stuff matters. People see these things, and for the last 20 years, we've been told you have to go to these different places to either gain experience, or worse, just to move. Because gaining experience is one thing, but saying you got to relocate your life is it's a lot for people to try and cope with. And by what we have going on here now for the event riders that are local, if you will, to see a path to success at their hometown is extremely important to me. And then to go gain those experiences elsewhere. Like I hope for as many riders that come from the East to the West, we could send a group back to do something in the East in the spring or in the fall, just to get their own different experience going. And all these events get better or they go away. That's the truth. And if we didn't get better with our own game, we were going to disappear, and rightly so. And fortunately, I've had a lot of good success, a lot of help from a lot of people that's helped us transition to new areas. You know, Eric Duvander was there back in 2017 saying, 2018 rather, saying, Robert, we need to get this thing good. He met with the owner, he met with Tammy. We transitioned to a new course designer. That was a lot of work. New course builder. That's a lot of work, a lot of stress, but all of it's paying dividends because we get, harder effort to make the product better for our riders. And so when you come out, the idea is to have a fantastic time. We've rounded up a bunch of cool things, all unique to Temecula and the tourism that we have for our owners and their riders and their friends to enjoy. Hot air balloon rides, wine tasting tours, rounds of golf at Ken's Golf Course at Cross Creek, not to mention our VIP experience, the on-site lodging we have. So you feel like you've gone somewhere and that effort was truly worth it. So I'm grateful for you guys having me come on and be able to explain the story, because ultimately, if it's the world's best kept secret, we've not done them any favors. So thank you both for having me on.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Robert. And it is a great event. It always has been. I had a great time when I was out there, and my story was more to say we have to learn how to compete at different places, and it is a different venue than what we have on the East Coast. And I think Tammy, amongst a good group of other riders like Holly Bennett and others, I'm not going to list all the names because I'll forget somebody, but they've proven you can get ready and be super competitive anywhere in the world from California. And again, I think you might think it's a secret, but it's no secret to us. Galway Downs is a huge part of that, and that's a credit to you. So well done. I hope to get out to Galway again very soon because I had an awesome time. And I'll tell you, I brought my mom and dad along to that one. They had a great time. Like people, if you're looking for an experience, not just for you, but for your whole team, I mean, California is where it's at. It is awesome.
Well, you guys, I appreciate that. You guys have a lot of great events out there, and it means a lot. And clearly, just having a good competition and getting the riders to come out and have the horsepower. The horsepower is a limited commodity for sure. And everyone has to make decisions with their entries and make sure they're going to a good place and a good effort for their horses. And ultimately, I think over the next 5 years, with the fact that our region is going to be hosting the Olympics, I think there'll be a bigger impact, with respect to high performance groups from all over the world, frankly, deciding to come down and get a chance to experience Southern California. And that was the reason, a big driving reason for the pressure to get the prize money together to align with the championships we've been given this year and to advance that into what's going to happen over the next 5 years between now and LA 28. And our whole goal is to have this become a central training, challenging site for everyone in preparation for those games and in advance of this Southern California thing that we're going to have that will be like nothing else. And I this is our first go at having that in our crosshairs. And again, hope to see everyone out. If anyone has any questions, they can email me or my team. Call us up anytime.
What's your email?
RobertK@galwaydowns.com.
Perfect. Listen, Robert, we're gonna fly. I do want to have a request here from you, Robert. What I need you to do is to go onto YouTube and subscribe to the John and Rick Show for me. And make sure you go onto all the podcast players and give us a review. Just like I'm asking everybody who watches this show to do. It helps us out so much because that way we can keep all of our advertisers happy, which then keeps this show happening so that we can have great interviews like you come on here. So thanks again for your time. Thanks for doing that for us. Thank you to everybody for watching the show. Rick, I think we're going to be back in a couple weeks, man.
Yeah, we will be. And Robert, we're going to try to put it on our list to get out there. You know, we want to come and see that place with our horses. So thanks for enlightening us what's going on out there.
Yeah, no doubt. And congrats to the U.S. riders at Burghley last weekend. Good Lord.
Yeah.
And the AEC is going on at all the same time. These really cool weekend for the sport. Amazing to see all North America finishing in the top 20. That was nuts, man. I mean, that was a hell of a track. Hats off to Derek for somehow making that challenging track and keeping it as safe as it was.
Yep.
Really awesome weekend.
It was an awesome weekend and another West Coaster in Derek. So well done, Derek. Well done, Robert. We will be watching you get ready for some awesome events out there at Galway. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you guys very much.
We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.